we're going to talk about Augusta National and the Masters and some course management. Can you hear what I'm saying right now? Hello, 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 hello. You can? Okay, cool. That's a good start, Daryl. How are you, sir? It's a pretty good golf course. I know that much, Jack. We'll give it a few minutes here and let some people casually show up. Last time I think we had about 25 or 30 once we got rolling. So can you see my face by any chance? Can you see my face? Hey, Derek. No, you can't. Okay. I tried to initially, I started it with video, but then it didn't give me the feature to share my screen. So I don't know what the hell, how this works. There's a button over here that says end live video, and I'm scared if I touch it, it'll screw this all up. And I did that last time, and y'all know what I look like anyways. I'm not that attractive. Give it just a few more minutes, let some people show up. Anything in particular that y'all want to hear or talk about at all? Obviously, I'm just going to kind of go over Augusta, go over a few things that I saw with some tour players over the last week and see what we come up with. Can you hear me? It's so bizarre sitting in a room talking to yourself and just assuming people can hear you, but I'll probably ask that a few times. Oh, shit. For some reason, it wasn't scrolling down this time. Now we'll see. All right. We'll give it just a few more minutes, let some people join in. We're up to 10. Like I say, last time we had about 25-ish. We'll see if we get a few more between here, about 8:33. Let me know. Here we go. Gosh, this is so bizarre how I can't. This thing had better be scrolling, otherwise this is really going to suck if I got to keep on figuring out how to operate 3 monitors at once. I'm going to see actually if you guys can. Man, there's got to be some way to auto do this. You know, Wes, I don't really know about equipment. It's really funny. I gave a seminar a few months ago, and somebody asked me what driver I was playing, and I was like, I literally don't know. So I unfortunately haven't been able to play a whole lot of golf myself in the last 4 years, 5 years, since I started this decade thing. I essentially haven't played golf. So I caddied for Zalatoris in 2014 when he won the Texas A&M US Junior. And my driver, the last time I entered Q school was in 2012, and my Cobra driver snapped the night before the first round. And since I live in Dallas, Adams is the only manufacturer here, so I went to the Adams Adams manufacturing facility and had them build me a driver the morning of the first round, and played it to successfully miss by 1 at first stage, and said, I'm going back to work. This sucks. But I've got a few things. I'm going to pull up another thing. I want to see if you can actually hear the audio of this, maybe. Let me see. Can you hear her here? Could you hear her speaking right there, guys? No? Okay. No biggie. I'll show you the shot and I can regurgitate what she just said. But I'll definitely I'll use that as a shot that I found really interesting, that Augusta Women's Classic. All right, we're up to 15 people. I'll assume that's a good start. So, you know, I've got some tee shot stuff that I've put up there now at this point in the videos, and honestly, I don't even know what all I have or haven't put. But the way I view tee shots, honestly, I firmly believe every tee shot should be hit with the exact same shape. I'm going to figure out if I can unpin this. It would make my life a lot easier. Nope. Okay. Yeah, okay, no worries. I'll just kind of say what she said. So The way I view tee shots is this is Jason Day a few years ago, literally when he was #1 in the world, hitting 20 tee shots for John Sinclair here in Dallas during the Byron Nelson. He's #1 in the world, third in strokes gained driving. His shot pattern with his driver was 74 yards wide. And kind of what I talk about in my seminar is you just don't eliminate one side of the golf course. It's not the way it works. So if you're Jason Day and your shot pattern is 74 yards wide and you're playing number 18 at TPC, the stadium course at PGA West rather, if your shot pattern is 74 yards wide, you literally simply have to aim 35 yards wide of the water. And again, these are the best players in the world. While they do some stupid stuff, they're not complete idiots. From this ball right here over to this ball right here, right at the cart path, is 110 yards. Feel free to go out and measure it on Google Earth yourself. But it's truly mind-boggling how wide shot patterns are, especially with the driver. So the way that I practice my tee shots, again, is I've got my driving range where I've set it up in the satellite view, and I know that this box is 60 yards wide at 290 yards from this point, and all I'm trying to do is hit a cut shot within this framework. And so really, if you go back to Bryson, when he was playing in all the amateur events after winning the U.S. Amateur in 2012, when you go back and look at the way that he was practicing for like Dubai, and I literally was making him these packets every single week where you can lay these exact same satellite images in this same structure, and you can find points like, I'll just zoom in here so you can somewhat see it. The left edge of this tee box, if he can center his shot pattern on the left edge of his tee box, even though it's going right over the corner of this dead blind dog leg, he can play this hole effectively blind, just like it's his home course. And he finished 12th as an amateur this week in Dubai. And they asked him, they said, man, it was really weird. You only played 9 holes on Tuesday and 9 holes on Wednesday, finished 12th. And his answer was, when you prepare the way that I do, you just don't need you don't need that many practice rounds. And I've been fortunate to work with a couple of the low AMs over the last few years at the Masters, and this packet is essentially the exact packet that they got. Obviously, the rest of my tour players that I've worked with, like guys like Aaron Wise and whatever, they get this exact same thing. So this is how we dissect a golf course like Augusta. And so this triangle is 60 yards wide at 290 off the tee. I mean, is there anything you can do to avoid this bunker? No. Is it a choke if you hit it in this bunker? No. It's just a shot in the right side of your shot pattern. Now, if you're like Tiger, I almost called Tiger a choker. That was probably a really bad idea. If you're like Tiger and you struggle with your driver and you get up here on this hole and you fear the ball going right, you're going to pull hook it over here near 9 quite often, which is exactly what he does. In my opinion, any shot that doesn't hit this box, something mentally went wrong. I got to spend some time with a guy named Martin Pillar yesterday, playing he was number 126 on the money list last year. And we were talking in the 9th fairway. Hit 150 yards into probably a 12-mile-an-hour wind. Pin is literally in the dead center of the green. And he's like, should I aim this about 5 yards right? I'm like, for what? And he's like, well, I don't like missing it left. If we were standing on the range, would you ever think that? He hits a nice shot, pulls it a little bit, and he's like, see, that's the shot I'm talking about. Well, from 150 yards, hit it to like 25 feet, just not the end of the world. But we then go to the driving range, and we hit balls the exact same direction into the exact same wind. And I just literally had him sit there with his 8-iron for about 30 shots to just illustrate he will never hit that thing as far offline as he's worried about. And so really using shot patterns like this and images like this is what allows you to essentially play a golf course like it's your home course quickly. So one, not that interesting straight away. There's plenty of room. It's a driver. If you can't really get it into the bunker, it's probably 3-wood. Leaving it short if you can cover it. If you've got favorable conditions, I mean, send it. There's just no reason not to. You're simply making all of your shots longer. So 2, again, it's so interesting. This box is 62 yards wide at 300. This shot you really do need to turn. Technology's kind of killed it with how far the ball is going on this thing now. Ray, I'll get to a question like that in a little bit. What's the most efficient way to structure an average short game practice? I'll definitely hit some of that stuff. Trying to find if there's any other questions. Okay, cool. 2, I mean, it's just nothing that interesting. 3, this is an interesting hole in my opinion. So 3, there's an image from a couple years ago. Jordan Spieth is literally in between these 2 bunkers. There's no chance your golf ball should wind up there. It's either drop back and take him out of play or send it over, in which basically everybody in the field can carry these bunkers. And the key to a hole like this, and let me find my Augusta map, here we go. So I don't know if y'all have seen my videos where I talk about how to find these things, but this is essentially Augusta National. I mean, it's insane how many houses they've bought and torn down over here for the first place. But here's number 1, here's number 2, here's 3 now. And the problem that most people get into is you should be hitting driver. There's clearly plenty of room, 65 yards at 300. Get it down there as close as you can. And what I would argue, and I'm going to see if I can actually maybe do this side by side. What I would argue is if you hit 1,000,000 golf shots, you will hit half of them left of this center line if you know how to correctly center your shot pattern. If you happen to hit it the final round when the pin's over here in the left, if you happen to hit it in the right side of your shot pattern, it's not as uphill rather as it seems. You've got a little bit more room to work within the green. You're in a good spot to continue playing, I hate the word aggressive, but continue playing aggressively. If you're anywhere on the left side of your shot pattern, this green over here is only 11 yards deep. That's it. And I don't know if you guys have seen my videos where I talk about Aaron Wise, but here is Aaron. Jeff Smith and I had him hit for this Course Kings content, now that I think about it, duh. I feel like I'm doing my seminar. Here's Aaron Wise from 110 yards trying to hit the same shot over and over again, normalized to no wind. His shot pattern was essentially 16 yards deep. The bulk of it was about 8 or 9 yards deep, but it's simply a really narrow place. But if you hit it over here left, and you've got that 40-yard shot, if you just play, the whole location will be about right here. It takes a lot of patience, but you've got to just put it over here, and you've got forever to work with. Now, granted, you're going to have it in a really funky spot, and you're probably going to 3-putt some of them. But you're going to make so many more birdies from up here close where you're just pitching it onto the green, and you, in fact, will make fewer bogeys, even though, yes, you're going to make some 3-putt bogeys from an odd spot. But if you lay it back here to 120 or 30 yards, if you challenge these bunkers, you're crazy. It's only 24 or 5 yards wide right here. You're simply not going to keep it between that very often. So it's not like people, when they get confused in the math of golf specifically, they think, well, I can just lay it back with a 2-iron and have a wedge in, or my driver's going to be in trouble. They compare one outcome to one outcome, and that's the thing you can't do. You have to consider the entirety of your shot pattern that will result in these shots, and some of them will be in these bunkers. Some of them will get lucky when you play incorrectly like Spieth did and be right here. But at the end of the day, you're going to be in a bad spot up here. You're also going to be in a bad spot back here. You may as well ship it and get it close. Laying it back to the super wide part of the fairway leaves you 150. There's no chance that's a good idea. If Aaron Wise can't keep it within 11 yards from 110, do you think that he can keep it within 11 yards from 150? Obviously not. You just have to send it, and then the key to golf is when you're out of position, you simply don't screw it up because it just destroys your equity. So even here, you can wind up 35-foot putt. It's just not that big of a deal. Hit it, get really good at lag putting. 3 is not a problem. You should be sending it. 4, I wanted to illustrate this shot right here because this is a super hard green. And it's so hard because I don't want to take away from players who are quote unquote clutch. But here is number 4, measure distance again. This green is 106 feet wide. For those of you at home, 106 divided by 3 is 35 yards. Number 4 green is 35 yards wide. I had a player freaking out on me last week because, again, I'm a giant proponent of don't hit it both directions. I was not going to tell you who it was, but since you can see it right there in the PowerPoint, it was Bo Hostler. Bo was freaking out because he's like, man, I get up there on 15 at Valspar. The wind is 10 or 12 off the left. Pin's on the left. The hole's 200 yards, and I got nothing. I took the shots, and I put a dot in shot link where every single shot is. This is the shot pattern on the PGA Tour on a par 3 where everybody's hitting it off of a tee, off of a flat piece of ground. This is a relatively solid indication of their skill level. And as a twice failed playing professional, it's somewhat nauseating. From this shot to this shot is 52 yards. From this shot to this shot is 50 yards. Now, I hope I can undo this. This is now it with the green laying into it. This is the shot. I mean, so Bo is freaking out because he's like, I like cutting it, but I want to play a draw because I hate seeing the ball move away from the hole. Dude, put it anywhere on the green. And I hate saying this again as a twice failed playing professional. This green is 25 yards wide. Hitting the green from 200 with a 25-yard wide green at their level is honestly not that difficult to do. Every single one of these shots, for sure, the player would essentially be incapable of hitting on the actual golf on the driving range. And yet now here we are on this. Oh boy, my PowerPoint's not responding. It always does this. This is too big of a file, but whatever. With this right here, they're better than this, period. There's no easier way to say it than they're better than this. So I'm going to try to close the program because PowerPoint sucks and come back here. So if this green is 35 yards wide and I just showed you a shot pattern that is 52 yards wide, how on earth, it's just the dead center of the green, and you're waiting out variance. So now, if you know decade, the baseline number from 200 is 10. I'm not going to explain what all that means, but essentially that's going to get you largely to the dead center of this green. The only target you have is this tiny little circle right here in the middle of the green. I don't care if the pin's on the right, pin's on the left. You have to absolutely do there, and then you trust that you are going to tiptoe around for 72 holes, more likely an entire career, and as a result, you will accidentally win golf tournaments when you just happen to have a slightly more than average. So if I hit 1,000,000 shots, it should be 50-50 around my target. If I hit 1,000,000 shots, it can be 60-40, and if you just happen to get a week that it's 60-40 on the hole side, and you happen to putt good that week, you win. That's literally all you're doing when you're waiting out trying to win golf tournaments. Now, the best players in the world have recognized this and understood this. They do it kind of intuitively, but a hole like this, if you see some guy hit a high flare cut tight to this back right pin on Sunday, if he pulled it off on purpose, it was luck because, again, that was just small variance within his shot pattern. But if you have a guy that aims it here and it just happens to finish on the whole side of his shot pattern, that was a little bit of positive variance also. The thing that's funny about this Aaron Wise image, oops, we'll see if this opens. Here we go. This Aaron Wise image from where he's hitting these shots, he technically was trying to hit it 187 or 8 yards on this line. It's actually the only place he didn't hit a shot. Which, again, this guy's the rookie of the year, won on the PGA Tour last year, made $4 million or something obscene. Like, it literally is just tiptoeing around, aiming it here, and crossing your fingers that eventually it's just going to line up. What you're really trying to do is hit it 20 or 30 feet out towards the middle of the green every hole, wait out variance, kill the par fives, and not give it back as much as possible on the par threes and fours. And then you're just biding your time. And it's boring when it works until you finish the 72nd hole and you win. Here we are on 5. This is the old tee. I believe they moved the bunkers back to where they're basically in the same orientation from the tee box. The tee box is actually across Old Berkman's Road now. It's back in here. It's 495. I think it's going to be super cool because this green is absolutely comical. I got to play here last year, and it is it's something else. I mean, obviously every green out there is, but I can't imagine these guys finally having some mid-ish irons into it, get a little bit of wind. They're going to wind up with some crazy putts. 6, 180 yards. Again, let's look at this satellite image. I just think that these ideas are so therapeutic, and then we take them home and apply them to your own course. Here's number 6. Right-click, measure distance, right-click, 87 feet rather, 30 yards across. I mean, this back shelf is tiny back here. Sure, they're maybe trying to put it up there, but it's simply not going to happen. It is just waiting out positive variance in that side portion of your shot pattern. This hole, it gets a little bit shorter because it's straight downhill, so this front hole location, they're hitting a more lofted club. It's a little bit harder to get the body line, the spin axis rather offline. So I'm trying to read comments and everything. Why not mode instead of average to Derman shot? I do actually. Well, use the median. You either kick out. So what I tell people to do if you're actually trying to do this at home, close this real quick. If you're trying to do this at home, I tell people, like when I'm working with a player, we're going to take this, it's easier to see on his wedge shots. We're going to kick out the worst 25% and take the average of the remaining 75%. And that usually winds up being essentially the mean also, or median. God, I'm confused. I've had a long day. The median. I'm going to read William's comment real quick. William Payne, considering a draw pattern player, understanding we are playing to a decade target center of dispersion pattern, do you set the face down perpendicular to the intended start line, which would be right of target? That's a personal question. I play a cut. I set down my face parallel to my body lines, a railroad track left. So in this situation, let's pretend I'm hitting from this area. My face would be pointing here, my body would be pointing here, and I would be trying to just hit some sort of a cut that ends anywhere in this shot pattern. Again, this is where it's really difficult to answer those questions because, again, as I feel like I said in my thing, or I definitely say in my seminars, Tom Lehman stood wide open and hit a dumpy draw. Fred Couples stood wide open and hit a hammer fade. So it's a personal question how you do it, but this is why I do believe block practice is the way to go about it, because then you get really good. Like you see Aaron here, he's got an alignment rod down. You get really good at doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm just such a big believer. I've been fortunate to spend a little bit of time with Claude Harmon and Brooks and these guys walking practice rounds. And Claude literally says, I want my guys to be as one-dimensional as possible. And for my own game, ever since I've personally started doing that, the game is just so much easier. I mean, I go out with Zalatoris yesterday, Davis Riley, who's actually the kid that he beat in the finals of the U.S. Amateur, Martin Flores, and Martin Pillar. I haven't played golf at all, and I went out and I didn't embarrass myself. Like I hung-ish with those guys. And it's because I just do the same thing over and over and over again. In my opinion, those guys really try to do too much, and they're great players, but it's just not, it's just such a hard game. But even more so, even if you do gain something by shaping a direction towards a hole, you're against your normal direction, you typically lose that in distance control or variability in wind. Like it's just, these shot patterns are huge. You just need to get your shot pattern as small as possible. And I believe you do that by hitting it with one shape. You use 2 standard deviations? No, I really don't use, I mean, I use a standard deviation to get the size of my shot pattern in order to start laying shot patterns into Excel spreadsheets to then be modified by strokes gain statistics. So yes, I know the standard deviations of my shot pattern, and then I estimated them for decade, bigger and smaller, just to get a general idea of what a worse or a better player's shot patterns might look like, but strategy really comes out the same until you get to like the mid-80s. Clayton, do the pros flight their wedges lower at Augusta? I was told they do. Of course, maybe they hit a lot lower than expected. I mean, they hit it. I can't figure out how they do it, to be perfectly honest. Like I was watching Jeff work with Max Grazerman out at the web event in Lakeland a couple weeks ago. Like my joints just kill me. So I've gotten to where I pick every single shot like Tom Watson, even with my wedges. So like I hit my wedges so high and so short, it's ridiculous. But then I watched this guy Max like just ripping this 60-degree at 28 degrees launch, 10,000 RPM spin, like just ridiculous little beautiful little rippy wedges. And they're doing that because they're just grabbing the ball so hard, so clean that this is how Jess explained to me, that just pulls that launch down, because I don't understand how it works, but apparently that's it. So I think that they just hit them probably a lot lower than most people think anyways. And then long irons probably a lot higher than they think. William, thanks for the answer. The game's improved. The block practice one shape. You got it, buddy. I really do believe in it. I mean, again, I sit in my little simulator here in my house and hit balls maybe once a week, and I get out and I play reasonable golf still. Yeah, Clayton, I know some of the shit you go watch, it's like, wow. All right, back to Augusta National. So here we are on 6. If my shot pattern's that wide, center the green. I mean, again, this is what working with guys like Maverick McNeely and Joseph Bramlett, it's been so awesome because of their comments that, where I asked them what Tigers told them, and they're like, man, he said that he was the best player ever because he was the best lag putter ever. He could just hit it 20 or 30 feet out towards the middle of the green, not make many mistakes, kill the par 5s, and always be in the hunt. And I'm telling you, That sounds so simple, but it is so hard to do. When I got out my US 4-ball qualifier a couple weeks ago, I mean, this is what I do for a living. I teach this stuff. I believe in it more than anyone on the planet. And I'm out there on my third hole. I've got 147. The pin's 5 from the right. And I'm just like, how can I not just cut a little 9-iron over there? Just perfect. But you're really just trying to, I mean, wait out variance within that shot pattern. 8, same thing. I mean, here we are, 7 rather. I mean, this is a great hole, I think. It's so narrow, it's ridiculous. But it's 450. I can't hit 2-iron off the tee. I mean, that would leave me 200. The green's really narrow. That's a bad idea. I'm going to open up my driving decision tree here. I mean, here's number 7. Start. Are there 65 yards between penalty hazards? Oops. Right here. Yes, there are. We've got several thousand yards. Does the fairway pinch? Yes, there is. Does the fairway pinch to less than 40 yards where your driver will either land or be rolling? This grid is 55 yards wide. It is literally 40 yards between the canopies. I mean, so this is the whole deal. Dropping back to 3-wood, I mean, unless you're Henrik Stenson, who hits down on it so much that he really does hit his 3-wood better than his driver, okay, Henrik, you can drop back. But anyone else who is, like if you don't actually hit your 3-wood materially straighter, you're making 100% of your shots longer to keep 5 or 6% fewer out of the trees because you're simply going to hit that 3-wood about 60 yards wide also. You just don't hit that many more in place. So you may as well send it and get it down there closer. And then even if your driver gets in the trees too, shoot, you've got fewer trees to go through. It's such a shift in mindset from it is what it is. I just have to ship it. I mean, again, this is Jordan in 2015, right of this fairway, and he had a perfect hallway. And that's just part of luck, if you will. Yeah, Tommy, we're going through them all right now. Here we go. Number 8, 63 yards at 300. That bunker is simply perfectly placed. Nobody's going to carry it unless you've got conditions. It's probably 315. Well, this is from the back of the tee box. 315-ish to carry. It's uphill. I mean, Cameron Champ might be able to, and there might be a couple guys, but it's a big one. So again, the bunker's just in play. If you don't want to put it in the bunker, your only other option is to put more in the trees. That's worse. So even though this bunker's not good, and this is the thing, once you're in this bunker, guys tend to try to bite off too much. So this bunker leaves them, as you can see, right here, as you can see, this box right here is about 250. So from this bunker, all I need to really do is get it up 150 or 70 yards. So most of these guys, if they can just get a 9-iron or an 8-iron out of this bunker, it's going to leave them with 180 yards, something like that. PGA Tour scoring average from 80 yards in the fairway is 2.75. From 100 yards, it's 2.80. From 120, it's 2.85. So I mean, it's material to get it closer, but it's only 1/10 of a stroke. Don't try to get it 15 yards closer by bringing the lip into play. Get it out of the bunker. Closer's better, but do not take excess risk to do it. So again, once you're up here, these guys, you've got to hit a pretty big hook to get it slinging back there, but all of this helps funnel it. And this right here, you can't really see it, but it basically removes the trees from the left side of your shot pattern. So even if I'm standing up there and just trying to hit essentially a straight ball, half of my shot pattern is going to be in really good shape. This box is 50 yards wide at 250. So the right edge of the green, you can see some of these other things, like you can see these lines, so just barely right at the edge of the fairway. So even though it's a blind shot, you can see this hill. You wind up being able to play this golf course so much smarter. I mean, again, as I jokingly say in my seminars, this is a picture of Earth. It can't be wrong. So, I mean, you can literally play these golf courses dead blind. And the main reason why, here we are now on number 9. This is 65 yards wide at 300. Obviously, every human in the field should be hitting driver. And from this tee box, you can see the right edge of the trees that are through 18 fairway. So even if you've never played this golf course before in your life, and you stand on 9T, which is as blind as can possibly be, it looks like you're hitting it out into the abyss. You can see the right edge of this tree, and if you can do that, and you can visualize how you practice the game, like this, all I'm visualizing now when I'm standing on 9T for the first time ever is the right side of this screen, the left side of this screen, and the dead center of this back tee box. and I'm just hammering my cut, and I'm waiting out a little bit of variance where I get the shot on the, I mean, again, it doesn't even matter if it's on the left side of my shot pattern. Just shipping it right over the trees here. Clayton says, I often see pros with 6 to 7 birdies in the card along with 3 to 4 bogeys. Any idea why they have so many bogeys? I mean, a lot of them are playing too aggressive. A lot of that's just variance. I mean, you'll see that in a day, but they won't have that consistently, not and keep their card. Most of the guys on tour are pretty good about making a decent amount of birdies and a reasonable amount of bogeys. I mean, and again, these guys aren't idiots. I did have one guy 3 years ago that I won't say his name, but he was a winner on tour, and he was a winner on the web the prior year, and he misses half of his cuts, and he tells me he fires at every pin, and it is what it is. And I was like, you better make sure you win every other year then, buddy, because that's a tough way to go about it. It's pretty damn frustrating, too. And sure enough, the guy's played his way right off the tour. I mean, it's just a really difficult way to go about it. So, yeah, they should be lowering their bogeys. Again, that's where I'm sure I've shown this in one of my videos at this point, but just looking at Tiger specifically, like, you can go look these numbers up. I'm not making this shit up. From 2005 to 2007, Tiger's scoring average dropped 9/10 of a stroke while making half a birdie less per round. I find that to be simply mind-boggling. Again, for you instructors that are watching this, I would take your phone out. I'll leave it up for a second. Take a picture of this. Because as you've got a junior golfer who's trying to get better through the 70s, this is thousands and thousands of rounds. I mean, D1, college golf, web.com, this is good golf. As your scoring average goes from 78.8 to 75.8, 82% of those 3 strokes in the 70s is bogey and higher avoidance. 76 to 73, 70% of that is from bogey and higher avoidance. Birdies will accidentally happen on the par 5s, the occasional par 4 where you've got, you know, some wedges in your hands, the occasional par 3 where you're aiming towards the middle of the green. Again, the reason I hate saying middle of the green is because the non-uniformity of golf courses is what makes this game so hard to teach. You can't just say like tennis or baseball or basketball, like go to this position. It doesn't work that way. But if you got a 95 shooter, you can tell them they're out there wanting to make birdies. Look, buddy, you're only going to make one more birdie a round by the time you're averaging 79. Those 16 shots of improvement, 15 of them is from bogey and higher avoidance. Damn it, that's disgusting. Oh, anywho, so now here we are. We're going to 10. 10, you can see this little tree through the fairway. Again, playing this golf course blind. This is a big bender. This box is 60 yards wide at 300. I do have my guys and myself, like if you can only hit a fade, Brooks, DJ, those type of guys, if you can only hit a fade, you get really good. You can put a 3-wood back in your stance, and it changes your angle of attack, kicks path out to the right as a result, and without really feeling like you're changing your swing much, you know, your stock 3-wood should still be a cut, but you can get to where you can roast a drawing 3-wood by putting it, I mean, honestly, like kind of ridiculously far back in your stance. And honestly, I even open my stance up, interestingly enough. Open your stance up, put the ball middle of the stance, even a little bit further back, take your normal swing, and that'll kick the path out so far to the right, you'll hit a hammered. It's actually a really pretty shot, but it doesn't necessarily look so good at setup. And then it just comes off with a roasting little draw. I mean, so that's what when I played Augusta, when I played Augusta, the overseed hadn't been cut yet, so it was miserable because it played 8,300 yards long. But these guys can roast a 3-wood out there. The ones that can't draw it, or prefer not to draw it, they can hit roasty 3-woods. I mean, you'll get a DJ will try to draw it every once in a while, but you're not going to see Brooks try to draw it, and it'll be interesting to watch like on a hole like this. Apparently, though, he's razor thin and not playing very good golf, so whatever. Number 11, again, here we are. Jeff, I may let you take a question in a second here. We had a question earlier that was how would I, let me see, it was, I'll let you do it right now if you want to try to type it. I'm fucking throwing you under the bus. The guy basically asked, how would you organize block practice with short game? I think that was the question. I actually would say to not really, like maybe if you're doing skill honing to block practice a session, But overall, that's the kind of shots you want to be varying because those distance control is more important. Jeff, do you have an opinion on that at all? We'll let you type for a while. We'll go to number 11 and see if he says anything. Number 11, I believe I heard them say, although I wasn't really paying attention on the Augusta thing, that they've added some trees over here, made it even narrow. Like, I hate that if they did. This hole was good enough as is. If you just keep on having people hit it in the trees more, I don't find it very interesting. But here we go. A good tee shot should leave you 180-ish. This right here, again, this is literally just the size of your shot pattern from 180. I mean, it's just bigger than the green. So you need to be patient and put it out here right center. There is nothing you can do about it. Right center of the green. But this is the difference. This is, again, like Martin Pillar, and I knew this because the guy's won 6 times on the Web.com tour, and yet he struggles. And I mean, I don't think he's ever kept his card technically. He struggles when he gets on a tour, and I'm like, man, when you get in the hunt, you're really good at the game. I bet you have a hard time thinking, I'm really trying to put it here. You pick good targets, Martin, and if you're playing good and in the hunt, you're playing probably more disciplined and patient. But when he gets out there, he's just like, well, the pin's in the back left here at 11. Well, I'm going to aim it over here, but I kind of hope I hit it over here to the left. In every fifth-year journeyman pro that I've ever talked to, when I say this, like, do you aim it here and then really try to put it here? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you aim it here and then think, man, I kind of hope I hit it in the left side of my shot pattern? And they all are like, oh, shoot, I do that 5 or 6 times around. That is the killer. You can't do that because you've never had that thought on a driving range of, I hope I hit it left of my target. But you will magically, by definition, if you're good at centering your shot pattern on your target, hit half of them left of it. You have to aggressively play to this spot. That is exactly what Tiger said. I play aggressively to my spots. He would pick this spot and then actually try to put it there and trust he probably wasn't going to. That is everything. Number 12, it's so funny because I'd never really thought about, like, Augusta National, it really does set up better for a lefty's shot pattern. So 13, 12, a lot of these holes really sit cantered, if that's even a word, from front left to back right. A lefty shot pattern will simply fit this hole better. And it's so interesting here to think of Jordan Spieth standing on this hole with a 4-shot lead in 2016, and he didn't change clubs, he didn't change his setup, nothing. He stood over this shot, and he was like, man, I feel good. I'm just going to try to hit it close. Even if he literally was basically trying to hit this 10 percentile shot without changing clubs, without changing anything. And that's, again, I feel like I put in one of my videos, you just don't over pure many golf shots. If Jordan's making this up, if Jordan's 9-iron or 8-iron is 155 as a perfect club, he's just not going to accidentally hit it 165 very often. I mean, subtle variations in wind might get it there, but it's not going to just accidentally jump that far. And so he's really requiring some positive variance in the conditions to get it there. Like, it's almost even out of his control to hit this shot with the club he was trying to. It's just truly mind-boggling, which again, though, shows you how hard this is. Here's Jordan. He's one of the best players in the world, coached by one of the best coaches in the world, and got up on this hole and just did a completely stupid thing. There's no softer way of saying it. And it's just interesting, though. I do feel like, if you think about it, Mike Weir, Bubba Watson twice, Phil Mickelson twice. This whole course, this tournament, is won by lefties a far more disproportionate amount of times than their pro rata share. And you could say, like, well, they're really good at golf. They are, but why don't they have the same pro rata share of the other majors? Like, I actually do really believe that a hammered fade, which is what most of these better players that bomb it like playing, Phil, DJ, all these guys like hammering a cut. Well, a cut on this hole sure is a little bit better than a cut for a lefty than for DJ. So here they are. I think it'll be interesting to see if they buy this land. They've bought this land. I shouldn't say if they buy it. They've bought this land. How they're planning on kicking the tee box back and then shifting this, because they'll have to do something with this. They'll have to move this, give you a little bit more of a chance because it's just too narrow of an opening. This triangle is 60 yards or 280 yards long, rather, and this center line is 30 yards right of the water. And I did that because I'm just trying to give them a good line where they can find something along this fairway line in order to know if they're going to carry it 280, I mean, this is their target. And again, now, do I need to draw it on this hole? Like, it would be better. But if I'm good at playing a cut, if I'm good at centering my shot pattern on my target, I will be in a great position half the time. And I'll be in a position half the time where I need to be laying it up. The average score is 4.61 last year. It's not going to be difficult to get to that number. What you can't do is put many balls left, or, I mean, even though Mickelson, like, he had a clear shot from the pine straws, you can get clear shots and try it. Like, it seemed batshit crazy, but he was hammering that thing in the left center of the green. I know that for a fact, and he hits a hot pull in the long left portion of his shot, the long right portion of his shot pattern rather, and hits it close. And that's the funny thing about what looks like an aggressive shot. A, it's not where he was aiming it, and B, he didn't make the putt anyways. Like, to actually hit it so close that you know you're going to make the putt, you have to hit it so close it's ridiculous. 8 feet is 50-50. Like, even hitting to 8 feet almost does. I mean, it matters, obviously, but it's not like you're guaranteed to make the putt. 14, oh, excuse me, this is now 65 at 300 for the Bombers. So this is a shot where, you know, they can cover it up into here. And you get these guys. So now, again, imagine if you're playing this for the first time and you can start seeing this bend in the river. I mean, you just know to hammer your shot as hard and as high as you can, just left of this little bend in the river. It should be cresting right in here, which is right around the tops of the trees. And you're going to have nothing left of the screen. But you can do that blind. And this is part of the reason why back in the day you had to, you know, first-time players never did good here. And it's because they only showed the last 6 holes, and then the last 9, and then the last 12. And now everyone on Earth has been watching all 72 holes for as long as they can remember. We've got a satellite to figure out how to pick this golf course apart. The you can't win there on your first time thing is 100% dead in the water. You can win this golf tournament as a rookie. Troy says, in preparation for competition, could it be argued that mapping sight lines from a satellite view like you were doing would be almost as effective as playing the course from a game plan standpoint? Yes. I don't tell my players that, but yes. And the whole, it's funny because, and I saw a caddy talking about doing it the other day, talking about like walking a golf course backwards. Like, oh, I'm so smart, I'm going to walk this thing backwards. No, walk it forwards with a satellite. I mean, again, I got to work some comedy into a 4-hour seminar, but this is a picture of Earth. It can't be wrong. And once you get used to understanding how to use this, again, some people say, isn't this taking the artistry and the skill out of it? I don't know. I don't really care. As long as my players keep on playing good and winning, who cares? I've got an announcer that's mad at me saying that one of my players, his wedge game sucks because he's sitting there just playing to numbers and not playing by feel. And I'm like, you're watching him play one event. He's hit a few sketchy wedges. It's blowing 30. I don't really give a shit. 2 weeks later, when he finished second, how about now? I mean, you just don't play good every single week in golf. And learning, I mean, again, I don't play any golf at all. And I just was hitting balls a second ago out of my course. And I can still just take that wedge shot that I was illustrating in my last series. I can still take that putter grip wedge shot in every single time it's 60 yards. And actually, because I'm trying to bring it back even shorter now, I was working on a feel where I actually was kind of like cupping my left hand going backwards. And as far as I could kind of take that feel and then just letting it fall on it, and it was a high dead shot that was going 37 yards every single time. Then I tried to put just a little bit of pace on it, and it was about 41 or 2 yards. And so now I'm trying to fill in the lower end. And again, I know that Pels had the exact same idea with his 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or whatever, excuse me, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever his club clock face positions were. And it's the same thing. I'm just showing that the feels that I get just have also, like, the furthest I can take it back, I'm sitting here doing this so you guys can see me on the video right now. The furthest I can take it back without feeling that wrist set at all, and then basically just feeling like the momentum, the gravity of the club hits it distance, and then you put a little bit of energy into it, and I mean, it's just so simple. 14, 63 yards at 300. Nothing interesting. Ship driver. 15, so this is what I was bringing up this girl from Augusta for. I mean, it's funny because so the girl, Cupcho, that won the NCAAs last year and the Augusta women's deal, she's had my app for a couple of years through Wake Forest. She's As you would expect, she's a really good golfer. She's really diligent. She tracks her stats. Let me see something actually here. Hold on. Hold on. As you would expect, here's the girl that wins the NCAA's Jennifer Kupcho, and guess what? She's really good at entering every single round that she plays. This is the thing to go tell your players. Be diligent, take the time, enter the data. This is what the best players in the world are doing. I can't make this stuff. I mean, I probably shouldn't use this girl's name since she's an amateur. Don't anyone get her in trouble for me, please. She would probably not be happy with me. But where did my thing go? Here we go. The best players in the world, they track their stats. I can help you find stuff. The decade stuff can help you find images. Like, stuff really, really works. Track your stats. So here's this girl. She gets it over here left behind these trees, and it's so funny. Let me find the shot. Nope, that's not it. Here. So this is Jennifer going to hit, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, you know, she better be sending this thing at the bunker and not trying to draw it too much. She's just not going to hit it hard enough to not have it dive. She doesn't really look like she likes it much, and I'm thinking, oh, God. And it just lands right there. Like, you've got to be kidding me. And when I was telling you guys, you couldn't hear it earlier, she's saying, I was not at all trying to hit it to that pin. I was trying to put it in the green side bunker, and it just kind of curved around the trees. I was not planning on hitting it there. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up, and kids need to see and hear this to understand that she was not trying to do that. But part of the reason she won was a little bit of positive variance going in her way. But the key is, had she put it out here to the right in the bunker, she still could have gotten it up and down. She still could have made par and continued on about her business, tied for the lead. Like, it's just variance and waiting it out. Here she is on 16. The girl that she's playing, her ball was 2 feet from being right down there tight, and instead she's up here completely dead. It hits a pretty, an amazing putt to 6 feet past and misses it. And it's just like, the 2 shots were just not that different. Certainly not different enough to just have one make a 2 and one make a 4. That's variance. Unfortunately, play the worst game in the world with the most variance. That's why it's also the hardest sport. I don't care how good you are, it's the hardest sport to win at. 1765 at 300. You should keep it out of the trees 75% of the time. I'm going to say it again because it's all that matters. What you do from out of position is far more important than what you do from in position. Smiley face. Because you should keep it out of the trees 70 to 75% of the time. I'm going to say it again because it's far more important. What you do from out of position is far more important than what you do from in position. No, it wasn't an accidental duplication of number 17. They're the exact same thing. Like, you just have to get your sight lines, understand your shot pattern. If this is 40 yards wide at 300, it's just a narrow area. And if you hit it over 300 yards, you're going to hit it in the bunker some, you're going to hit in the tree some. You're going to be John Houston, hit it over here into 1 fairway or 10 fairway some and hole it from there. Like, this game is brutally painful. But, again, this decision tree, if y'all want my decision tree, send me an email. My email is Scott, SCOTT, at playinglesson.com. Playinglesson.com. Scott at playinglesson.com. Send me an email. I'll send you this driving decision tree. I'll send you a thing that shows you where on YouTube I've got a free 30-minute video that's essentially the exact tee shot decisions from my my full seminar. But again, once you go through, to me, the interesting holes, as we were talking about it, because I kind of obviously go on tangents here. Number 3, send driver every time. If you hit it in the left side of your shot pattern, just don't screw it up, middle of the green, try to 2-putt it. Variance wasn't on your side this time. Maybe it will be on 15. 4, 240 yards from the back tees, dead center of the green in all circumstances, period. 5 should be interesting, really interesting. That this hole is going to be an absolute monster now. I don't even expect them to play it up, because then they'll just be able to send it to the bunkers aren't even in the same place anymore. They'll be able to ship it over the bunkers. Like, it'll be a really stupid hole from the up tees. This is going to be a monster. 6, again, as it starts playing a little bit shorter, the front hole location, they're hitting an 8 or a 9 iron. It's hard to not spin axis offline. You can absolutely get a little bit more aggressive. 7, 3-wood does you nothing against driver, period. Ship driver. 8, again, bunkers in play. Don't do something stupid and hit the lip of the bunker once you're in the bunker. Try to bend it around the corner, but don't get carried away. Don't get it over here short-sided, because this shot coming up and over this huge hill is no good. It's much easier to pitch it coming across the green from here. 9, I mean, one of the main things, and I talk about it in my seminar, people talk about, I'd rather be chipping than putting from short of that green. So, and I'm trying to find the slide from my seminar. Better to be chipping. Number 9 at Augusta, I used Augusta to illustrate this idea. They're like, dude, you would rather be chipping from short than putting from 30 feet above it. I understand that, but in order to have that chip shot, this is that you can't compare one outcome to one outcome thing. If I'm sitting on 18 and I hit against a dealer face card and I catch a 3, was it a good play? No, it was one outcome that worked out, but if I do that every single time, I will lose money, period. So you have to compare the entirety of your shot pattern that allows that shot to be the case. And if that's the case, a third of your shot pattern is rolling 40 yards back down the fairway. The overall expectation of this versus centering the shot pattern just beyond the hole, this will play worse. There will be times you're in a spot 35 feet long where you're like, man, I wish I wasn't here. Is what it is. Get really good at lag putting. 10, guys like Brooks and DJ need to hammer a drawing 3-wood versus trying to draw a driver. Watch for stuff like that, because that'll be the stuff where you can really see, man, these dudes really don't try to work it both ways. And again, it's so funny, because it's interesting is bad golfers try to shape the ball both directions. Bad golfers, when they get over par, they try to get it back. Like, most players ask me, if I'm playing good, can I get more aggressive? Sure, by a yard or 2, whatever. But really, most of us get more aggressive when we're playing poorly, because you try to force it to get it back. It's the exact opposite time of when you should be forcing it. Find a good target, wait out variance. Brian says, just curious if you work with any poor players at your club, and talking about the 80-90 golfer, how do you teach them? Well, again, so yes, I've had people who shoot in the 80s and 90s attend my seminar. And for the most part, if you're the person who's going to sign up for a 4-hour seminar, you're a golf nerd lover like all of us. The seminar is really interesting because of stats and stories and anecdotal BS anyways. But I get the best feedback from those golfers because of talking about, man, just get it out of trouble in one. But then again, people have been saying that for eons in playing lessons. I'm clearly not new at that. I'm fully aware of it. But using images like this, I mean, again, that's what's funny is I use an image like this is my recovery section. Like, I have to just use the hardcore data from Brody's book. Here's the recovery shot. Here's the fairway shot. Use just basic stuff like this. But not only do I have to do it with them, like I was showing when we first got started, I've got to do it with tour players. I mean, again, this is Bo Hostler, 40 yards wide, 40 yards deep. Here's that shot pattern. And again, this was actually illustrating from this shot over to here. The whole thing is 50+ yards wide and deep. You have to use images like this, and that's the difference for getting players to understand. Again, here's Aaron Wise, 22 yards left, 12 yards right, 35 yards wide with a 7-iron. And the only place that he was trying to hit it is the only place he didn't hit it. And so, yeah, if you're an 80 or 90 shooter, this kind of stuff can't hurt you to understand. Now let's pick aim small, miss small, pick a small target, all those old cliches that are correct. Now we're telling you the story of why to do that and how to get out of your own way. And again, the reason center of the green doesn't work is simply because, St. Andrews 18 is 52 yards wide. So center of the green there is terrible advice. Center of the green at Hilton Head is probably really good advice. The non-uniform design and nature of golf courses is why it simply doesn't work to teach course management by saying middle of the green here, because the player walks away with nothing. It's been eye-opening for sure, and actually has helped tremendously on what to focus on, how to improve. Beautiful. Get a reliable shot. Again, Claude Harmon says this about tour players. They try to get good at 4 to 5 shots, and they aren't good at any of them. It can't get, I'm pretty blunt, but it can't get much more than blunt. Claude is just like his dad in that manner. 11, again, I hope they didn't put too many trees in here. I believe they did. It's probably going to make this hole kind of stupid, most likely. 12 does not fit a righty shot pattern. It really does fit a lefty shot pattern much better than anything else. So really understanding that it's just, again, Jordan Spieth's trying to hit it tight to this hole without changing his target or anything. My journeyman tour players do that 4 times around, and understanding that the best players, when they're playing the best, are not doing that. 13, trees are simply in play. There's nothing, again, this is like a dartboard here. This is straight uphill. The first cut of rough catches so many shots. If it doesn't catch the rough, it's a giant funnel down into here. So it's kind of a perfect little bank to just fire it just inside the tree line with whatever your preferred shape is. Sure, it fits a draw better. You can go back to a chippy 3-wood if you're one of those guys that likes to cut the driver, or if you're one of those guys that cuts the driver and can hammer it right up over the middle using the left edge of this creek as your center line and send it. 14 is nothing. 15, again, if you get it over here, right bunker like Jennifer Kupcho tried to, didn't pan out. Oh, it didn't pan out in the good sense. Could she have subconsciously, accidentally steered it over there? 100%. But it still was not a thought of, I'm aiming here and hoping I hit it here. The subconscious might have turned over, but I do think that Jennifer is a good enough and a seasoned enough player. She understands this stuff enough that she really was trying to put it here and then just got away with the big miss, which sometimes, by definition, half the time, you're going to hit it over there left. Going to work out. 16 is just so interesting with this spine being the perfect width of your shot pattern on this shot. It literally is exactly. Let's pull in the satellite image here. Go to 16. Did I turn this thing around? I'm all confused. Here we go, 16. Duh, it's right by 6. Decade baseline number from 178. Tack on a couple for the water, 10 or 11. The green right here is 22 yards wide. Top of that ridge is roughly right here. I can't see because the thing is 42 feet, so 14 yards. Even with a perfect decade shot pattern would basically be the dead center of this green. Half the time you're going to be in good shape. Half the time you're going to have a rough putt. That's why this hole plays with, even though it's pretty, I don't want to say simple, but pretty simple, 3.03. It's a par 3, plenty big green. Ship it right at the middle of it. When it gets calm, I tell tour players, calm and soft, you can take one off for the calm, one off for the soft. So yes, they're going to get more aggressive in that situation. Once, 160 when it's up in the final round, baseline's 8, -1 is 6, +3 for the water is 9. So yeah, you're aiming it just right at the pin, which is exactly where they're aiming it. You see all those hole-in-ones track down to the left. 17's nothing interesting. 18's just a damn good hole from the tips now, straight uphill. I hit the ball pretty hard. And well, granted, it was overseed, so the ball went nowhere, but I hit driver foreign like it was nothing on this hole from the dead tips. The legend, God, why am I blanking on his name now? The guy that plays with the markers on the weekends, if he makes the cuts there, that's who we got to play with. And he probably doesn't hit it 240, and we played the absolute dead tips. He hit 2 or 3 greens and shot 1 over. It was he's the legend. God dang it, I got to figure, what's the guy's name? Augusta member, plays in Jeff Knox. Played with Jeff Knox there, and just the nicest dude. And frickin', the short game is legendary, and it is legendary. It's funny, though, because he's like, I'm kind of ready for a good member, a good player to take over. He's like, I love it. But I mean, he's pretty, I don't know, he's pretty old. I don't know how old he is. He's definitely 50 something. He's like, this is just no fun for me anymore. I mean, I could accidentally shoot a big number in tournament conditions, which would be no fun for the guy I'm playing with. He's like, I'm kind of ready for someone to take these reins and for me to head on out to pasture on it. But he was a super good dude. Um, any other questions? Anything? That's the course. You know, who do I think is going to win? I don't know. I don't think Tiger's going to win. I think he's the worst bet possible, and I'm the biggest Tiger fan on the planet. I just don't think he's ready. DJ Brooks, not Brooks. He seems too skinny and frail. I mean, just the names: Jordan Spieth. I mean, not Jordan. Justin Rose. All those guys. They're just gonna. It's a great tournament. It's gonna have a great leaderboard, and it should be fun. If there's any questions, I'll answer a few. Otherwise, we're right at an hour. It's a perfect place to shut her down. Anyone got anything? Lovely. My next series will be in a month. I'm going or a few weeks rather. I'm going to Puerto Vallarta this week to host a few seminars, a few live deals at the Punta Mita Four Seasons. It's going to be awesome. But I'm going to look to film a lot of content down there on the golf course, screwing around. And I've been finally freeing up a little bit to have more time to make content, plan more seminars. My website's playinglesson.com. Look for my upcoming schedule. Definitely going to be in Austin, Toronto, Southern California, really getting close to booking something in Boston. So if you've got any interest in getting me up for a seminar, let me know. Players keep on getting better, and again, it works for good players, bad players, anything and everything. Appreciate y'all. Love this Course King stuff. It's super fun doing these deals, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Again, please feel free to post questions in the Facebook forum also, and I'll make little videos and content on a weekly basis too, and just upload it. So thanks everyone. Good luck and enjoy the Masters. Later. Actually, you say this for the majors before everyone goes. I'm actually talking with the Golf Channel to be on part of the live from the majors stuff and start using some of my images there. So maybe we'll get on stage with Brandel. Oh, I'll leave it with that at you. Please, please, please. Yes, I'll come back to Atlanta. That's an easy place to come to. All right, y'all have a good night.